My background. Could I do that?
We're live. Introductions, Robbie. Let's go.
We're here. Hey guys, everybody, welcome to another live stream. Hopefully we're gonna get through this one without any technical difficulties. These things have been a learning experience. Eduardo Joy, my man, how are you, buddy? It's good
Hey,
to see
Rob.
you. Thanks for coming on with us. And
Yeah, I'm excited to be here.
Robert, mute your other computer.
Me? How's that?
That's good. I can see you perfectly.
Don, everything good? All right. So we're going to talk about housing crisis, housing shortage in Puerto Rico. You were on the news the other night. I heard. I didn't see it, but you and your team and your students, you specialize in finding distressed properties and bringing them back to life, and then providing housing for people all over the island of Puerto Rico. And that is something that's near and dear to my heart. It's one of our preferred ways to invest. And I've seen some of your projects. I know you're doing excellent work around the island. So, Eduardo Joy, say hi to the audience for us, and hopefully we'll get some questions. Introduce yourself, and let's just have a conversation for the next 45 minutes or an hour or so.
Yeah. So thanks, Robbie. It's a pleasure to be here with your audience and to say hi and to help promote Puerto Rico as a destination of a place to invest and get amazing returns, but also, enjoy the island. My name is Joy. I've been investing in real estate for the past 24 months. I'm a fairly new investor. And I've been focusing on, I started with long-term rentals, so majorly Section 8, and then did a little strip mall. So that kind of introduced me to commercial. And now I partner with a few folks, and now I'm learning what the short-term market is. And so that's kind of the beauty of Puerto Rico. Like, you could literally invest in all types of classes, from commercial to long-term to housing to short-term to hotels, right? And you, Robbie, you do all of the above. And so, but yeah, that's a little bit of insight on me. As I realized that I was going to do this forever, I noticed that there weren't a lot of people helping and teaching here in Puerto Rico on how to do it. And that's one of the major reasons why, there's so much opportunities. It's just because there's not a lot of investors, man. And so that's what we focus on with my coaching program, is to teach people how to invest in multifamily here in Puerto Rico and get their first investment. So it's a little bit of a short description of kind of what I'm doing now and what I'm thinking, especially going to 2023. I'm definitely looking to create a bigger impact in the coaching world as well.
Well, I mean, that's awesome. And that you're right. We invest in all the things you said, but one of the main reasons that we went to Puerto Rico was to find these multifamily projects like you and your students work on. And the thought process behind it is that you can buy a building in Puerto Rico, and they're really not that difficult to find for the reasons that you said. There are lots of buildings, and everybody has seen them in just about every neighborhood you go into. These buildings that are forgotten, that haven't been lived in for years, sometimes decades. And if you can figure out how to purchase them and then fix them up and turn them around, it provides housing, it meets a need. And I've been on the island for 5 years, Joy, and ever since I got there, we've heard the same thing, that there is a housing shortage, that we need more housing. And so that was one of the things that attracted us to the island. I mean, so we run a portfolio in Florida of workforce housing, mostly single family or duplexes, small stuff. But we've got 50 or 60 doors across the state of Florida. And we provide housing for Section 8 people, for people who are, budget conscious, right? So most of the time, we're not renting, $1 million house. Or before I came to Puerto Rico, I was never doing Airbnb. I was never in that space. Puerto Rico kind of led me into something different. But really, one of our preferred ways to invest is just to buy something, fix it up, put renters in there, and sit back and see what happens. And over time, things appreciate, rents go up, life gets really good when you can do that. In Puerto Rico, you can buy these multifamily buildings, and you actually teach investors, which I think is so cool. You're teaching a section of the population to improve their neighborhoods, the areas where they live, the towns that they're in. You want to talk about that a little bit, and we can
Yeah.
talk about Coruscant in a little while too, because I know
Yeah,
that's
for
near
sure. I
far
love to talk about that. So my background is not in real estate investing. No one in my family invested in real estate, so I didn't have anyone to ask any questions when I started. I knew that real estate investing was a good idea overall, and I knew that usually a lot of successful people end up investing in real estate or somehow partnering with an operator, or they usually end up owning property. So I knew that that was a good idea. I didn't that that's about all I knew when I started. And but I figured things out, and I went ahead and bought a property that was initially a 2 unit, turned that into a 7 unit because there was a lot of space. It was a mixed property, mixed use. It was commercial. This is really common in Puerto Rico, where you have commercial space in the bottom, and then they're like, "Yo, what do we do with this roof? We might as well put apartments in the roof." So they take the roof and they do a 2 to 3 units in the roof, and you usually see these properties that are a commercial space in the bottom and then housing in the second floor. And so that property had those trades, and I purchased it and rehabbed it and rented it out, and just learned a lot because I made all the mistakes. Like, I overpaid for construction. Um, I you know I did I overspend on the property. I made it really nice, more than it should have been. It took me a long time. I had all my tenants be none of my tenants paid when my first 6 tenants. None of them paid, so I had them all um, evicted, and I went through that process of a big learning curve for that property, and then turned out at the end that I stabilized it. I remember that it appraised for 365. They almost gave me a 12 cap, right? And it
Wow.
was a property that was a 7 unit with 7 meters, water and power, completely occupied, producing almost $5,000 a month. Um, and it turned out to be a 12 cap or close to it, which was really interesting to me. But the moral of the story is I figured it out and was able to refinance the property, pull all my cash out, and still pocket 27K. And then my monthly cash flow was around $1,200, right?
Wow.
So that was the first time for me that I was like, I prove the model of
Yeah.
of what, if you go on YouTube, is a burst strategy, right? So I proved it, and I'm like, all right, cool. Now it took a lot of effort for me to for me to get here, but I didn't know, like, I didn't know anyone I can ask. And so, great. So how about if I continue to do this? Could I continue to enhance the process? Could I continue to do bigger deals and that sort of thing? So that's kind of the mentality that led me to it. But initially, I started the coaching program because once I kind of understood how the model worked, and I tested it a few times with myself, I'm like, hey, a lot of these people here in Puerto Rico, they don't need 100K a month. They don't need 20K a month. They don't need 5,000 doors. They're good with 2 or 3 thousand bucks a month extra income, right? And I'm like, well, if you do your numbers right and you buy a 7 unit to a 15 unit, and you buy it at the right price, and you're really strategic on the construction, you could refinance that property, get all of your money back, plus pocket some money, which is tax free because it's a loan,
Yeah.
and then you can keep the property and get close to a 2,000, $2,200 monthly profit after all expenses, including the mortgage. And I'm like,
On
all right,
one property too. That's
for
on
one
one
property,
property.
yeah, like for one property. So, and I'm like, all right, let's help people out. Like the only way for Puerto Rico to improve is if we have more in terms of the infrastructure, is we have more investors. And there's never been someone teaching how to purchase, like how to do the business, right? This is a business like any other business.
Yeah.
We're selling a space to someone who wants to purchase it or rent it, right? And at the end of the day, like you have sales, you have operations, you have marketing, you have accounting, right? It's a business like any other business for us operators. And that's what kind of that's what I've been teaching is like, hey, like if with some information and the right tools, you could go from 0 to 20 doors in 12 months
Yeah.
easily.
Yeah.
And 20 doors, um if you do your numbers right and you purchase at the right price and you do the rehab and you're strategic on your investment criteria, after refinancing that, you could easily hit 100K, like easily. And
Yeah.
so that's what we're teaching is like, hey, uh, if you want to invest in real estate and become a full-time investor and like do this as your profession, then we're here to help because we believe it's necessary to have more investors here in Puerto Rico for all of us. You're a believer of this. You believe in total abundance, right?
Yeah.
And you promote abundance through your collaborations, through the efforts that you're putting out, even the YouTube, the lives. There's so many properties here. There's so much opportunity that we could have 1,000 investors and still find amazing deals, right? and
Yeah.
and and another thing that I tell my students, sometimes they ask me, it's like, yo, why are you teaching this? You're creating more competition. And I'm like, no, dude, if you're going after a 10 unit, I'm trying to figure out how to go after like a 50 unit. There's levels for this. Like you're doing hotels, right? You're
Yeah.
doing hotels. You're not that really worried about a 4 or 5 unit, right? And so they're like, oh yeah, that's true. I'm like, hey, as you keep going, you're gonna try to do bigger and bigger things. And so that's why there's never a shortage of.
Well, and all ships rise in a rising tide. We say that phrase a lot, and it's truly one of our core beliefs is that there is enough for everyone. And so we do invite lots of people to come. We invite people to come to the island. We invite people to come back to the island who have a connection. And I get a lot. I've been over the last 5 years, been told several times by locals, hey, I didn't realize investing in Puerto Rico real estate was so valuable until they watched our YouTube channel or they meet Eduardo Joy. They just don't, it's not, it hasn't been for 10 or 15 years thought of as a really good idea to invest in Puerto Rico real estate. It's just now that it's sort of made the turn and that people are starting to see it.
Yeah.
So, I mean, we moved our business 5 years ago after Maria because we saw an opportunity and because we thought we could recreate something I call a 2012 market, which was a market where you could buy things really inexpensively and ride the big wave up. But the big wave only comes if there's lots of investment going on, right? Like, so a guy like myself, no matter how much one Robbie Krager can do, it will never be enough to change anything on the island of Puerto Rico. So I need Eduardo Joy, I need Juan Carlos, I need thousands of other people to come into the island, and it lifts everything along the way. And that's part of the reason that we invite people, and that's why we like to partner with people. We want to get as many people actively investing in real estate and providing great housing for people, and quite honestly, changing their lives as well. I mean, for most
Yep.
people on the island, an extra $2,000 to $4,000 or $5,000 is life changing. It's a game changer, right? Like that's a really big deal. And so that is
I,
that is our
I
work.
love.
That's what we encourage people to do. So I know
Yeah.
that's what you do in your community, even probably way better than I do. I mean, how many students now do you have that you're teaching how to
We
buy these
started in
multifamily?
January. We currently have 62 students. They purchased together over 50 doors.
Wow.
And then the second wave of the byproduct of this is that we're starting to invest together. And I
Yeah.
think I think that's the probably the best scenario is when you do something selfishly, but the outcome is everyone wins. Like if we were to analyze this life, at the end of the day, we're doing two things. We're promoting ourselves so that people invest with us, but we're also helping the community, right? So it's like you get to make money, I get to make money, the community gets better,
Yeah.
people have a housing. It's like it's the perfect scenario for a win-win, right? It's a beautiful business model when it's in our best interest uh, to promote it and by doing that everyone literally wins, right?
Yeah.
Someone can watch this and say, hey, I want to learn from Rob. Cool, they can become an operator. Someone can watch this and say, hey, I have 50, 100K, 500K sitting in the bank. Rob can give me an amazing return. Let me invest with him and be a passive investor. Bam, he wins because he's getting an amazing return. He's also helping the community. You win because you're getting a financial and you're also increasing your wealth, right? And your equity and all that. And so I think that's what's awesome about what you're doing and what we're like trying to figure out here is like, how can we have an equation where we can literally all win? The more you win, the more money you make, the more your partners make, the more money Robbie makes, right?
Yeah.
The more money Robbie makes, guess what happened? That means he had to rehab a bunch of buildings. So that town now has property taxes. That town has people living in there, and then you start to see the little coffee shop here in the corner, the little bakery shop here popping up. And so it's literally a wheel of community and a wheel of win-win for everyone, like and that's pretty cool. I don't necessarily think all businesses are like that, if you look at it from that perspective, and so
It's
it's
amazing
just
to
a
see how powerful it is to change one piece of real estate. Like in Coruscant, if we talk a minute about your strip mall, it was sitting there vacant, not really doing much, and you changed the entire area there by renovating that strip mall the way that you did. You've created a place for people to have businesses and for people to do to go get their phones and have a massage or buy a plant. I mean, you've just created 10 or 15 different spots for a coffee shop. You said that
yeah.
people can come and sit down, and then they see that it can happen, and then someone else hopefully picks up the baton and runs with it, right, and does the next one down the street.
One that I know that are my friends in Orlando.
Oh, that's our interview there. But I love when you say they can see it. I think if I was to say like Rob, um, what's been the value that you've provided to me the most? I would say is you provided me amazing value, but the one thing that you provided without knowing is like the exposure to what's possible, right? If you look at what you've done with your career and what you're currently doing in terms of your deal flow, your collaborations, your promotion, you're literally saying, "Hey, Joy, you can get here," right? And that is, I would say, that's the most valuable thing you can give someone. That's what I'm learning. It's like you're giving me the exposure to understand that it's possible, and I haven't seen it. So think about this: if I live in Puerto Rico all my life
Mm-hmm.
and I've never seen it, and I'm a guy who's active, right? It's not like I'm in like I'm active, right? Like I'm an engineer. Like I like businesses. I'm active, and I've never seen it. I've never met any investor, real estate investor in my life, and all of a sudden I get to see a guy, right? And I get to see him doing deals left and right all over the place with different people, with different partners, structuring like this, structuring like that, always thinking in abundance, always thinking that there's always a way to figure things out. Now it's like, holy shit, there's a path I want to follow. Like, there's a that's a model I can replicate. I could take what I think is the best from that, and I can apply it to my model, and now I have something to follow and look after. And so, but by you doing that, it only provides more opportunity to you, because now when I have an opportunity, who do I want to bring it to? I want to bring it to Robbie, right? And so that's what I think is so beautiful about it. It's like the impact that you can have on someone when you show them it's possible. And so if we take it back to the strip mall, Plaza Estrella, the whole community changed. The if we look at there's a gas station in the front, that thing got rehabbed. There's a funeral home right in front, that thing got rehabbed. There's a little like strip mall right next to it, that thing got rehabbed. And all of a sudden people are like, wait, you could make money with this, and you can help out, and you can do this and that, and then you can start seeing the impact. And it's a beautiful thing. Like that's something that it's a byproduct. I didn't consider it. Those pictures that Adam is showing right now, you should see it now with the asphalt. The whole place got asphalted. It looks freaking badass.
Well, and you've got buildings in the back as well that weren't there the day we went and got this drone footage.
Yeah, correct. We finished the buildings. All of the buildings are finished, and we asphalted the whole place, man. So it looks really beautiful now. We're ready to start developing the roof. We're gonna have food stations up there.
Are you gonna do the food park on the roof?
Yeah, I'm committed to that, man. We're gonna do that for sure.
Man. That's gonna be amazing.
Yeah, we're gonna do that. And
you got to tell everybody about that. So then tell us, food parks are super popular on the island, but I haven't ever seen anybody do it on a rooftop like this. So give us a little insight as to what you're going to build there.
Well, it's what you're really good at. It's like, how can you take something and add more value to it? And in commercial real estate, the value of the property is dictated by the income of the property. And with this property, it already had 2 staircases to the second floor, because the owner originally wanted to build a second level. And so it has the easy access towards the roof. And what we did was we built a bathrooms on the corner, and now we're going to develop there's 7,000 square foot there. We're going to develop the entire 7,000 square foot to put food stations, right? Because there's a need for it. Like, people always buy food. If you think about, in Maria, right? Like, what were the places that made the most money? Well, it was like the bakeries, the places with food, because people still like to eat. They still like to go out. So like, those places were majorly packed. And so, hey, if we can take that roof, which is $7,000, and turn it into $8,000 or $9,000 worth of rent on a month, because we invested $100K to it. If you look at that, like $8,000 a month times 12, that's $64,000 a year in revenue. But if you cap it at a 9, that's a lot of value generated there, right? If you take that and you cap it at a 9%, that's a lot of value. And so that's what I'm trying to do with that property, is just like play the game to the best of my ability and just make sure that I'm squeezing the value out of every corner, because I've already paid for it. Like, it's cheaper for me to add another $8,000 of rent at a property that I own than for me to try to buy another property that generates $8,000 of rent.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you're talking about a 65% return on your investment there before you put debt on it. So if you just invested 100,000 and bring in 60 grand, that's an amazing return that you literally add to the top of your building, right, on the roof. So I wanted to hit on something you said a little while back, and that was, and I'm sorry, I'm having a little brain fog here, but you were talking about how seeing something happen in the area. So like in this instance, your building is beautiful, and we went to see your building, and then we went and had lunch at a place up on the hill there behind it. and like you did hit on it. You said across the street they're renovating the funeral home, and they're renovating buildings all around that. They wouldn't have done that if it wasn't for you, Joy. You changed that area. You gave those people the vision and the idea to say, hey, this area, it can be profitable. It can look good again. And I think what you did is you probably took the worst looking thing in the area and you made it the very best looking thing in the area, and you gave them courage. You gave them the thought and the idea to put some money into their own properties and stuff like that. And so it's really got a very wide reach, and your willingness to take on students and to teach them to do this stuff, that's what I love about Puerto Rico. Puerto Rico to me has changed me into a person who really likes to invite partnerships with different people. So I'm always telling people that we expand through partnerships. You've taken that to another level by having students, and I may one day very soon want to follow in your footsteps. So I appreciate you showing me that, because you went from no students to 64 students in less than a year. And if you keep growing at that rate, you're going to have 500 or 600 students in another year. And I don't know where you want to take it, but obviously you're a great teacher and you're very dynamic. So people would love to and should come and see you. And what I love about it is you're to the locals, right? Like, so you're letting the locals know that their island has massive value, and that's super important. So I'm just proud of you. Way to go. Because I kind of watched it. I mean, I was there when there were no students, right? And now you just took that idea and ran with it. It's really amazing, and it's a great thing for the island. So congratulations.
Yeah. And now, and you know, the whole model is to demystify it, right? For Puerto Ricans, real estate investing is like a foreign language. It's like Chinese, right? It just seems so complicated. People are so afraid of it. There's so many bad stories around it, and the overall feeling of someone who invests in real estate is that, like, wait, you're gonna lose your money. You're gonna have bad tenants. They're gonna destroy your building. Your prices are gonna go down. Everything is expensive. The bank won't finance it. So it's just a lot of limiting belief that the locals possess right now, but it's only because they've never seen it. And so what we're trying to do is, like, you, Juan Carlos, me, some of the other folks is just starting to talk about it, just having these conversations around, like, hey, it really isn't that hard. Like, yes, you have to be creative. Yes, you have to work hard, but you have to do that regardless, right? But once you understand the mechanics of it, it really isn't that hard. You just have to put in the work, just like any other thing in life. Just like if you were working for Microsoft or for, you know, whatever other company, you still have to put in the work and show up. And so that's the main idea here, is letting them know that it's possible, but not from a position of like, I'm the best and you suck at it. It's like, yo, I'm learning this thing, and there's people who know way more than me. And like, Robbie, like, you're one of those people. And so, like, but as I learn, I can teach you, right? Like, I've always said this: you don't have to be a black belt to teach a white belt, right? In karate, you just need to be one level above that person to teach the person who's below you. And so that's kind of the way I look at the whole subject of investing in real estate, and also of just creating a community around that. And so far, man, the community that we've created, they're amazing guys, you know, and girls. They're a lot of professionals, a lot of business owners that they've always wanted to do it, but just didn't have a freaking clue on how to start it, how to do it. What are the numbers? What are the terms? Like, who are the contacts? And now, right, I provide all that through our coaching program. And then the best thing about it is we're going after deals together now. And you know, you've and then collaborating with you guys, right? Like, for example, so maybe you could be in some deals, maybe you can be the hard money lender for that, right? To make that deal happen, and you facilitate that. You've been hard money lender to me in a previous deal that's taken way more than I thought it was going to take, but you still, stuck to it and helped me out. Right. So it's like having, having it's being able to put those two things together, like having the people that want to learn and have the desire and want to become an operator, and then how can we put them in contact with people who know a little bit more, and then put them in contact with resources like the ones that you have with your knowledge, with your experience, and then we just start seeing the impact of it. I mean, you alone with your properties, how, you've invested millions of dollars just on rehab alone. Right? Think about it. Like how much you'd say you invested in rehab last year? 2022.
2022 was our biggest year ever for our renovations, and it was millions of dollars. I should
Millions of
know that
dollars.
number off at the top of my head, but it's gone up every year that we went there. We came to Puerto Rico with $1 million to test the market and to see.
Imagine if you had 500 to 1,000 people investing $1 million plus in rehab in Puerto Rico. Like, imagine the impact that would bring to the island. I mean, and even if that happens, which I know that it will, we will all still be able to find amazing deals.
Absolutely.
Right? Because there's just so much, man. There's just so much of that. Like if you look at some of the Florida investors, you're in Florida right now. How many investors are in Florida? Thousands of them. And guess what? They're still making money in Florida. You can still find great deals in Florida.
Yeah, there are thousands and thousands. I mean, that's why we went to Puerto Rico. Was we wanted to see where our money could go further and have a little less competition. And then we invited. Even when I first came to Puerto Rico, I invited everyone I knew. I said, "Look, this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to go over here to Puerto Rico. There's a ton of opportunity." The way that I saw it when I first got there, I was like, the streets are paved with gold for someone who can repurpose property, and that's our preferred way to invest. We like to take something that has very little value at the time that we buy it and reconfigure it, rethink it, and create something that's got a lot of value, like you did with the shopping center, right? Like, so that is, and everyone who's in Puerto Rico knows that as you drive around your neighborhood, there's no one that doesn't know of a property like we're talking about that's been sitting there for years and years, and yet there's a housing shortage. And if we could just get enough people to come in and buy these things, we could fix that problem, right? Like there's no question. So how do people get a hold of you, Joy, if they want to think about becoming your student? Because I think that's really important for the island.
They can just follow me on Instagram. My name is Eduardo. That's actually my first name. My last name is Joy, Joy. Eduardo is like Ed in English, or Edward. But tell them to look me up on Instagram, even YouTube. If you were to type Eduardo Joy or Ed Joy real estate, you'd find me there. And I want to ask something, which is, now that we're finishing up 2022, what are your goals for 2023 in real estate? What are you thinking of, like, when you're talking to your team and creating your new strategies? What's on your mind for 2023?
I appreciate that. It's honestly what our idea is to invest with some people like yourself, a few people that are good operators, and allow us to come into a deal and not be necessarily the ones who are running the job. We've got some really big jobs. You talk about renovations. In 2023, with the properties that we own inside of our Opportunity Zone Fund and just some other stuff that we've got on the island, it's like a $15 or $20 million worth of renovations that we hope to do in 2023. So how do we continue to partner with people and grow a business without taking on much more of the workload, right? Like, so we're operators over here in this hospitality space and this Opportunity Zone stuff, but I still very much want to be in business with people that are like your students, whether that's through a hard money partnership or just doing a deal where we come in and provide some capital and expertise. We want to do more flips in 2023. So 2022, we kind of took off as buying. I was telling people all year, I'm trying not to buy anything. I'm trying not to buy anything. And then I'd buy something, every month. But this next year in 2023, we really want to buy some things with partners. So like Adon, we've got a couple of flips that we're going to do with him, or you and JC, we'd like to do some things with you. And there are a few other people, and maybe someone who sees this would like to partner with us and comes, but we're looking for someone with a lot of energy and, a vision for whatever it is that they're doing. And if people bring us deals that are good enough, we'd like to partner with you. I can't ever see myself not in this business, because I literally jump out of bed every day excited for what I'm doing, especially in Puerto Rico. Like it's, I tell people now that I play Monopoly because we invest so heavily in hospitality, but I still really, really like buying these small multifamily houses and fixing them up and then finding a tenant. That's our bread and butter. That's what we've done for 25 years. I did a short video last week where there was a $9,000 duplex in Caguas. So there are these properties that are out there that, I don't really need to do a $9,000 duplex, but if it falls in my lap, then I'm probably going to buy the damn thing and we're going to fix it up, right? But what I'd rather do is partner with someone who brings me the $9,000 duplex and I let them run with it and perhaps teach them a skill set that they didn't otherwise have, right? Like give someone a leg up, because people gave me a leg up for 20 years, right? Like I started out with nothing. I was not a silver spoon in my mouth kind of guy, very middle class. And when I bought my first house, I didn't have a job. I had a negative net worth and I had 2 kids at home, and I had to figure out a way to provide. And I jumped in this real estate game just because I saw other people doing it, which is so key to have these examples of other people that are able to do it. That was what gave me the courage really to buy my first 10 houses. Heck, I bought the first one, it didn't go well, so I bought 10 more and just kept going and going. And if you can absorb the punches, the small defeats, you can really have a good life from this. And by the way, you can create jobs for people, you can create housing for people. There's just a lot of things. I think when you're doing something that helps benefit other people, life's really good, right? Like that's really where I find joy in life. That's what I'd like to do. I'd like to do more, but find some people that we can partner with that can be the operator for us and let us sit in the backseat for a little while.
Yeah.
You have a great story about the operators versus the champagne, and I'll let you tell it again, because I think it's pretty cool. Talk about the 3 kind of ways that people can invest in real estate. And
I always vote. So a couple things. First, I want to talk. Oh, I see Juan Carlos has Wonky. I see he has a question. I just saw it for the first time. I didn't notice that, Wonky. I'll address it. Thanks for asking that. I love the question. So I want to say some things. Is first of all, I like the idea of you leveraging your experience and just all the years that you put into this, and then being more of a strategic partner, not only a capital partner, right, but a strategic consultant partner for local operators that want to accelerate their learnings. I think that's a game changer for both parties. They get to learn and save, thousands of hours of dollars of mistakes, and then you get to not be so heavily involved in the operation. Therefore, you could probably do even more deals with less administrative just burden, right? So I like the fact that you're thinking about that. That's awesome to hear from an operator, right? Or so that's number one. Number two is I always say that if you look at investing in real estate, like there's 3 types of people. There's like I make this metaphor with flight, and it's like there's some people are pilots, some people are co-pilots, and then some people are like in first class, and they're passengers. And the way I talk about it or make the connection is a pilot is 100% in charge, right? He's the one responsible from getting you from point A to point B. He's doing all the work. He's making sure that all the numbers on the dashboard and the gauges and the elevation and the speed, he's making sure, and the weather, he's making sure that everything's okay. If there's turbulence, he's the first one to go on the communication and tell the passenger, hey, we're going to have this, we're going to have that. And so he's the one flying the plane. He's the one in charge. And I look at operators as pilots, right? We as operators have to, make sure that the deal goes through, and then finance it, and then take care of the rehab, and then rent it out, stabilize it, then do the loan, right? Do the financing on the loan if we're going to do another loan or a refi out, or if we're going to sell it, whatever. We're 100% in charge of that, and that takes a lot of work. And because it takes a lot of work, there's higher compensation involved, because there's a lot of things going on. Now, the co-pilot is sitting next to the pilot. He's looking at everything that's going on. He has tasks that are assigned to him. He has responsibilities, but it's not his major responsibility to take people from point A to point B. That's not what he's there for. He's there to assist the co-pilot, right? And the co-pilot's main function is to do that. And so I look at co-pilots as, people who are interested in learning how to do real estate, but they don't want to be 100% in charge of all the things and the risk that's involved in being the pilot, being that operator. And for people who want to invest and learn how to do it, the best thing is to be a co-pilot. Like, don't try to fly it yourself. Find an operator who's really good at it. Find a pilot and help them out. Assist that person, and you can learn a lot, but you also don't have the entire burden on yourself, right? And there's some people like that. Some people want to invest in real estate, but they like to learn it. You see a lot of engineers, a lot of analytical people, like they want to know why that's going on. They want to be informed about it. Maybe they want to even have a task or two assigned to them, but they don't want to be 100% in charge of the whole thing or responsible for it. And then you have people in first class. People in first class are drinking champagne. They're enjoying their flight. They're watching a movie. They don't care. They don't really care anything about, all the problems and the turbulence and the communication and the responsibilities that the pilot and the co-pilot they're doing. They're just enjoying sitting back, enjoying the benefits of being in first class. And there's some investors or some people that have capital that want to deploy that capital and get a return on it. And they don't really necessarily care about the day-to-day operations of it. They just want to multiply their money, right? And so real estate gives you all three. It gives you the ability to be in charge. It gives you the ability to partner with someone who's in charge so that you can learn. And it also gives you the ability for you to not really care about what's going on, but and you trust the pilot, right? And he's going to take you safely from point A to point B, and therefore you can deploy that money and get a return of it. And it's a good way to identify, if you're looking at this or listening to us, it's a good way for you to test and temperature check where you're at right now. Are you the pilot? Do you want to be hands-on? Because if you are, then you got to go somewhere to learn about it, right? And if you're not, you just want to be in first class, maybe you have some capital, then you need to find yourself a pilot, whereas you can invest that money with. And obviously Robert is a great operator, and it's an easy way for you to kind of think about which of these buckets do I fit in. And so
and I think you can jump from bucket to bucket, right? Like, so you can be the co-pilot, the pilot, you can be the guy in first class. I want to be the guy who's sort of moving into next year, the co-pilot who's helping to maybe teach the pilot, right? And then eventually I see myself as just being a straight investor.
Right.
Especially
and everyone wins, right? If you look at me, right? If you're the co-pilot, if I'm your co-pilot, how many years of mistakes would I be able to bypass by just being next to you on a deal? Just freaking, light years of speed. I would be able to, like, whatever your net worth is, I'd be able to double it in a shorter amount of time, right?
Sure.
Because you've given me all that experience. And so there's a lot of value in you like taking someone, training them to be a pilot, then you becoming their co-pilot, and then ultimately you don't really care. You trust them enough that you're flying first class, you're enjoying the benefits of it, but you know they're taking you from point A to point B and safely. And I like that about real estate. I like the fact that you can collaborate with people like that. I don't think other businesses are like that collaborative. You know, if I had a bakery and you had a bakery, can we both start a new bakery? Maybe, you know, but what are the chances of
Probably
that?
not, though,
Probably
right?
not.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's
And
right.
and you know that's one of the things that I really love about it. Hey, we have a question here from JC. You want to address it? Oh, he's there.
There he
Awesome.
is. He was asking, actually, Joy, if you could tell us a success story of one of your students and what they were doing and how the community has changed their
Yeah.
mindset.
I have a student that it's already started to rehab his property. So he came in the program. After 8 weeks, he purchased I think it's a 14 or a 16 unit building in Añasco. You saw it. You went to
I've
it.
seen that building. I love that building.
He bought it for 127,
What did it do in the most recent market?
$127,000. He's gonna put in around 300K. And the property is almost gonna be worth $1 million at the end of the
Oh,
day.
I think it will be worth $1 million. Yeah,
Yep.
it's a great property.
So he's currently started the rehab, and um, he's raising private capital, right? And so I'm teaching him how to raise private capital from friends and family, so that he can start getting his reps, right? And start practicing on how to do that, how to communicate value, how to handle objections, that sort of thing. But what's going to happen to that community is it's so close to the town center that you're going to see people starting to rehab left and right. So that's a community. He's going to provide 16 apartments. They're all two bedrooms and 3 bedrooms. So 16 new families will be able to move there.
Wow.
Man, like having 50 new people living in a small town, that makes a really big difference. So think about the impact on that for him. I mean, for the community, and also for him. Like his first deal is a 16 unit multifamily that he freaking killed it on the price. And he's going to be able to refinance it, completely take out all his money, pay hard money, pay private capital, and
Yeah.
still make proceeds on the deal, right? Because he's going to refi for way more than what he has in, and the property is still going to cash flow a couple $1,000s after all that. So it's going to change his life, and it's going to change his family's life. He literally had a print shop, and he's selling it right now. He's like, dude, screw this. I'm just going to do real estate full time. Like, I'm going to sell my current business, take that money. He's literally about to sell it in the like, I think he has a buyer for the next couple of weeks. He's going to sell that business, take that capital, finish that property, refi out, take all his money out, and then just do that full time. And so not only for the community, but for his life. He has a kid that's young in age, his wife, his mother, his dad, right? So it's a big impact, Juan Carlos, when you look at it from that perspective. And it's actually bigger than what I thought. Like I knew that we were going to have an impact, but I didn't think it through that deep, right? In terms of all the second order results that we get from it.
So this guy bought that property for less than 10,000 a door. It's
Yep.
concrete block. It's really well built and it's good looking. And the land around it, it's a really nice piece of land. That one deal can be life changing for this individual. And I think you just said that he's planning to sell a business and go into real estate, which is just amazing. And he was one of your first students, right? Like, and
He was one of the first students. Yeah, there's a few stories like that. I have another student who bought a building in Arecibo. He bought it it's in the number 2 road, which is like the main road. He bought
Yeah.
it for 115, 120. He's gonna be able to have 14 units in there, and it's a 3-story building with a parking space right in the number 2. So yeah, they're they're changing. You know, they're making a lot of impact. That guy as well. He's gonna he's gonna change his family's trajectory. You know, this guy he's a veteran, right? He worked in the military. Then he had cancer, so he had to retire. And now he's like, man, I need to, like, if I die right now, my family's stuck. I need to create a another income for them if something were to happen to me, right? And now he's doing that. So he's gonna have his property probably in the next few months is probably gonna be done, and now he has an income that no matter what happens with him, he's still going to have that security. Number one. Number two, it gave him purpose. It gave him value back into his life. Now he wakes up to do something. He has he used to live off of the insurance and the veterans pay and retirement money that he was getting because of his illness, whatever. But now he feels useful, right? He's fulfilled. He likes it. He feels valuable. It's like, hey, I'm bringing money to my house. I'm hunting for my family, and I'm teaching my son how to do it. Every time he goes to watch the property, his 10-year-old son goes with him.
Wow. And so this
Right?
isn't the
So-
wealthy guy you're talking about. This is someone who was on a fixed income.
Yeah,
And
he how did he was he able to purchase the money? He had 30K, he got some loans, and then he went to a family member, raised some private money from a family member, paid him a return on it, right? So it's like it's a win-win for everyone. Was able to get enough money to purchase the property and start the rehab. He's probably going to get a hard money loan now to finish it, but you know, it's he's gonna do it, and it's gonna change his life, and not only because of the money thing, but because of the emotional and the aspect of being able to provide and having something to look forward to, and to feel valuable and useful.
man, that is such a good story. I mean, the truth is anyone can do this, right? Like it's not for just wealthy people. It's not just for someone who's got a high net worth or a bunch of money sitting around. This guy is literally going to change his life and probably the life of his children, right? Because he took action, and once he learns how to do this, it's extremely unlikely this will be the only thing that he ever invests in. I mean, it's almost impossible to think that a guy like that invested his first deal, 13 or 14 units, doesn't end up owning 100 units 10 years from now. That's the way this real estate.
Less. He's gonna end up owning 100 units in the next 2 years easily, because these guys are they're gonna become really good operators, because first of all, they have the character trait of a good person, of a hardworking person, of being true to your word. They have those values, and they just need the info, and we in this call, we're providing the info, right? Like, we're not the only ones doing it. We're playing a role in providing that information. So he's gonna kill it, man. He's gonna become one of those partners that you're gonna partner with as you take on a different role moving forward with your investment career, Robbie. For sure.
I mean,
know that for
listen,
a fact.
I think whoever this guy is, and I don't know him, but I'd love to meet him one day. I think he's going to be an inspiration for everyone around him. And I tell people this all the time. If you can get yourself to just change your mindset a little bit and start thinking about how you can do some things, you not only change your life, but you change your children's lives. Hell, you may change your neighbor's life just because someone in the same situation as you sees this happen to this guy, and then they start doing the same thing. And then what happens? It's that all ships rise in a rising tide. The neighborhoods get better. It's an amazing story. I mean, wow, that's a powerful.
Yeah, I'm gonna hook you up. I'm gonna hook you up with them. Yeah, I'm gonna hook you up with them so that you can check out his property, and interview him. Because here's the thing about it, is like, it's what I'm learning myself, and what I tell my guys is like, if you you need to, you either have a I'm like, for every opportunity, every real estate opportunity, there's two things required. There needs to be an operator and there needs to be capital. If you're an operator that can find opportunities and they're really good opportunities, the capital will always follow,
Every time.
right? So the only thing you need to do is learn how to become a good operator, and that's cheap. It doesn't require money. It doesn't require money to learn how to analyze a deal, how to talk to how to call X amount of brokers and find, and negotiate and that sort of thing. Like, it just needs effort, but not necessarily money to that. And then once you find that, once you complete that level of skill, then the capital is always going to be there. Like, if the deal is good, people have capital, and that's the number one limiting belief that a lot of people need to overcome to really step into their calling in terms of the real estate game. And you talk about this all the time.
I try to put it out there and have a positive attitude. I mean, there's a couple of things where people can change their mindset on money. If they can, change your relationship with money, life gets really easy. The point that you just made a second ago about money always comes to a good deal. I'm telling you guys, for 25 years, it's never failed me that if I find a good deal, I can always get the money. And some things that I learned recently, I had limiting beliefs on how much money I was able to raise. And Joy, you and I have talked about that. The first time that I raised $1 million, I was terrified. I knew I had a good deal and the money did come, but I was scared to death. I was like, I just don't know if this might not be the time, even though I'd probably done it 3,000 times before on smaller deals. That was a big deal for me. And now we've done that, and it just continues to be true. If you have a great deal, the money will find you. So I like to say the money's not the most important part of this thing, right? Like, real estate investing is about buying properties really well. And just so anyone who's listening is very clear, if you can find multifamily houses on the island of Puerto Rico at less than $10,000 a door, and you don't have to get them that good even. I mean, that's an extremely good deal, but less than $25,000 a door, I think any one of the three of us, JC and Joy and I, we would be definitely jumping in the car to go drive to look at what you've got and seeing if it's a deal, right? Like, so it's really about having the courage to go find that deal. And they're there on the island of Puerto Rico. It's just, and then they're everywhere.
Yeah. And then what I like about like our combo here is that there's a different flavor for like Baskin Robbins, right? 31 flavors. People like different things, and they have an idea about, or they have a reality of, what they think they should do. And that's what I like about having Juan Carlos in these conversations, is because Juan Carlos does short-term rentals. And some people in Puerto Rico, if you present the idea of investing long-term or investing in commercial, they're like, they don't like it. But when they hear short-term, they're like, oh, that's cool, but they've never done it. They're afraid of it. And so for us three, we don't care what you invest in. We just want you to invest. We just want you to hop on come inside the industry and learn the business. I really don't care if it's, short-term, long-term, commercial, if it's, storage, if it's whatever class there is to invest in. I just want you to invest, because at the end of the day, it's only going to get better for everyone. So Juanqui, can you tell us a little bit about like your perception and how, like, you talking about short-term and to the Puerto Rican crowd and to the local community, like, what's been your experience doing that?
Well, first of all, thank you so much, guys, for letting me chip in here for a couple minutes, and Robbie for putting this together with Alan and Joy. I was really excited to get in this call with you guys and add some value. Yeah, man, I think that, there's a lot of things that you guys have said that need to be unpacked, but one of the main ones it was the mindset thing. It kind of sounds like all three of us just had to kind of like start thinking in a very optimistic way, which is, I think, is the entire tone of this conversation. And I think that's the main difference. Like, I think the people that end up doing big things is because they have optimism, especially where others are pessimistic or where others don't see what you're seeing. And I think that's the hardest thing. Then you are actually a genius once you once your thing comes to fruition. It's kind of like when I look at Plaza Estrella, I'm like, what was Eduardo thinking? You know, it's crazy. And then you look at the final product and you're like, oh, he's a genius. You know. So when it comes to answer your question about short-term rentals, I agree, man. I think some people are kind of there. There's Plaza Estrella. I've actually been there. It looks a lot better in person. It's insane what you did there. But yeah, what I tell people is that, you know, whatever it is that you feel comfortable is what you should do. And I guess that was one of the questions that I put in the chat, which I'd be really curious to see what Robbie or Eduardo has to say about that. Like, what do you think? We've talked a lot about to basically a beginner investor that wants to get started, but there's also people on this call that have capital, right? And when I mean they have capital, maybe they have 10,000, maybe they have 25,000, maybe they have 100. God knows, maybe they have $1 million, and they just not sure what is the very first step. So I guess that would be really cool if we can talk about that a little bit more, because I think that'd be very valuable for people that are like, okay, this is cool, but you know what? I'm more of the, I like this whole champagne thing. That sounded really cool. I want to be like drinking champagne and let you guys go and take the punches for me. What's the first step for someone that wants to invest, and what does that look like?
No, that's a great question, and I'll let you answer it after I do as well, Joy. But for me, the first step is to get to know someone, right? Like, so I tell, and both of you guys have heard me say this, we invite partnerships, and we have expanded our business in Puerto Rico through partnering with people, locals and people from outside of the island. It doesn't matter. And for me, it could be that someone has capital and they want me to be the operator, and that's great. I invite those kind of partnerships. None of the three of us are ever going to turn down someone who says, hey, I've got 10, 50, 100, $1 million. Great. Let's get to know each other. And as long as we're aligned in what we are thinking the outcome needs to be, and we can find a project that fits the person and the personality, then we're open to doing that. But I think to answer your question, JC, is the first step is to get to know someone, right? Like, so Joy and I started going to look at real estate together, and he would ask questions, and I would come away from it and call my business partner. I met this guy, Eduardo Joy. I really like this guy. I'd like to do something with him. And that was months before we ever really did anything together. So, and JC, we met through you buying my house, right? Like, so hopefully we're going to do a project where we really do it together. I mean, and I certainly want to. So, but it's because
hey, you're our biggest partner in that deal. What are you talking about?
I am your biggest partner in that deal, but I guess I'm just going to drink champagne and let you guys run with it, right? I'm in first class on that one. But the way that I know that I want to partner with someone is really by getting to know them. I want to be in business with people who I like, who I see have a similar kind of ethics that I do, who are willing to work hard. Like, that's a big one for me. You know, I'm very unlikely to partner with someone who just wants to put it all on me, unless they've got a big pile of money and they say, hey, give me a fair return. Here's a big pile of money. But for the most part, I want my partners to align with me in the way that they think about the investment, and the way that they think about the work that goes into stuff, and just kind of adding value. So it's super important for everything in my life to do is to add value wherever we go, right? We always want to pick up cash flow along the way, but we also want to add value to everyone. I know JC and Edgardo, you have both expressed that several times, where you talk about adding value. That's what's important. Get to know someone, have similar belief systems, and depending on the relationship. So, like, if I'm going to invest as the champagne rider, then I want to invest with you guys where I know you guys will work as hard as I would if I was the operator, right? So, Joy, what you want to take a stab at that?
Probably even more because we have more to lose. Meaning, we have to prove ourselves. We're starting out. We want to continue. We want to grow. So I would say, Juanqui, for someone in Puerto Rico, I would say we do a monthly event, and Robbie, we do a monthly event. So if you follow me, you'll see a monthly event there. But Robbie, he does a weekly event every Saturday. And if you follow Rob, he'll like Rob's Instagram and or Facebook or YouTube, like you'll know when how to get there. But it's basically a Saturday, every Saturday in the morning they get together with people who have deals, people who have who are learning the real estate game here in Puerto Rico. And you could definitely go to one of those and speak to Rob or to the folks there. He also is part of a monthly meetup here in Puerto Rico. That if you look on meetup.com and if you look real estate, you're gonna see that it's called Real Estate Investor Association of Puerto Rico, and you're gonna be able to access and find Rob there as well. I know JC, you're part of that, so yeah, if you're that person and you live physically in Puerto Rico, you either need to go to my monthly meetup or Rob's weekly meetup or Rob's monthly meetup. So there's like a whole bunch of places. Juan Carlos, you have your masterminds, which is another like on another level, but it's basically weekend retreats for people who want to learn how to invest in short-term rental in Puerto Rico. So yeah, if you're that person with capital, you have to come by and talk to us personally, because we want to make deals with people that we know, and whether you're providing capital or knowledge, you're still our partner. So we want to make sure that we're a good fit. So that kind of answers where to go. Now, if you're in the States, right? If you're in the States, then definitely hit up Robbie through the Instagram and through the bio here. There's a number there, and you can contact him directly and his team and have a chat about it, figure out what it is that you like, what's your risk level, what are you trying to do, and we'll certainly help you out with that. Same way here, like if you're in the States and you want to invest in one of our deals or my deals, hit me up through whatever preferred messaging platform you like.
I wanted to add that for me, like one of the things that I do, recently the other day I was on a Zoom call with a couple that they've known me for years, and they wanted to see what we were doing, because one of the biggest things is that people see us on these calls, and they first of all they wonder, like, how did these guys get to know each other? And the answer is, we actually went to these events. We probably saw each other. I remember seeing Robbie on YouTube and on Facebook. He was getting slammed by the locals, and I was like, oh man, this is really interesting. I gotta meet this guy. I would love to meet him, which is the total opposite of what some Puerto Ricans think. And he's an amazing person, like a lot better than like 1,000 times better than people even make him to be. So you guys need to really meet Rob, because he's doing amazing things for Puerto Rico. And then for Eduardo was the same thing. I met Eduardo in person at an event. And again, guys, like the best way to get to know someone is to feel like you trust them. And the only way to feel like you trust someone is to spend some time like doing something together, coffee or like at an event. But it all starts with adding value. And I think this is kind of what we're doing right now. We're adding value to the audience. We're adding value to each other. We're showing up, right? Like even showing up, it's like one little sign of like, hey, this is how I roll. I show up. I say I'm gonna do something. I do it. And yeah. And finally, like for me, I think if somebody wants to get to know an opportunity, they can get on a Zoom call and kind of see it, because sometimes it's some people are very busy and they don't know exactly. I can't go to these events. I just get on a Zoom, get on a call, and I think that the very first thing is just to do one. Do whatever amount of capital makes you feel really comfortable, that at least gets your feet wet. Maybe a deal where you can get your money fairly quickly, like a flip. I think, Eduardo, I love your deals, because your deals, like somebody can invest and in like 12 months get their money back, right? So can you give me a quick example of what hard money looks like or private money, just in simple terms, so somebody that's never invested kind of gets an idea of that, of what that
Yeah,
looks like in terms of like,
Rob.
okay, I put in X amount of dollars, I get X amount of dollars back. And why is that better than, like, let's say, putting the money in the bank?
Yeah, go for it, Rob. You're
Is
the
he
expert
asking me
here.
or he's asking you, Joy?
You're asking me?
Well,
Either of
both
you
of us
guys. I
can
mean, you
answer
guys,
it. So,
Well, I
um,
could talk from
yeah.
I could talk from a
Let's say
perspective, and Rob
let's
can talk from
let's
another
say if I
perspective.
had $50,000 in the bank, okay, that I'm really mad because I look at my bank account and it's just not growing. I know it's actually growing in reverse because of inflation, and I'm like, you know what, I got to put this money to invest, but you know what, I just
Yeah,
don't have the time, or I'm not that guy. Like, what's my opportunity? Because this
yeah,
sounds really good to me, but I don't know what to do next.
yeah. So what I do with that, whenever I have that, I I love that because there's a win-win scenario here. So basically, what we do is you become my bank. So you become Juan Carlos Morales bank, the bank of Juan Carlos Morales, and then you take that 50K and you lend that 50K to me. Now, in the bank, you're getting 0.0001%. But if you lend it to me, you're going to get anywhere from 8% and above, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, whatever percent, right? Depending on the opportunity that I'm going to deploy that money towards. And so you all of a sudden you start to generate a passive income without being the operator. You're literally just my bank. And if we were to drive here in Puerto Rico, there's a place that's called the Golden Mile, right? In Spanish, Milla de Oro. All the buildings there, they're not clothing businesses, right? They're not restaurant businesses. They're banks. And so the banks, right? The banks make the most money. That's why they have, the biggest businesses. And so the way you personally can become the bank is by you lending me that money personally. And so I take that money that you have sitting in the bank, getting a point zero zero, $100 a year for it, and I can give you a 10% return, maybe even more, in 12 months. Why? Because I have a strategy. I'm going to buy the property, I'm going to rehab it, and then either I'm going to sell it or refi out. And so for someone who has capital and is interested in multiplying that money, then yeah, that's the way to do it, especially if you have access to an operator, right? Now, some people don't have access to operators necessarily, but they do have access to other people who can then be the one lending the money forward. And Rob, you could talk a lot about that because I know you have a lending business as well, inside your real estate business. So can you talk a little bit about kind of the benefits for that? I mean, I know that as an operator, my benefit is I have access to capital, and not only can I move faster, but I also can pay a percentage to the person and have that person make money as well. And then as a hard money lender, then you're basically becoming the bank, right? You're being that broker between maybe two different sources. Can you talk a little bit about that?
yeah. So we're not a bank, right? We are real estate investors, and we've set up our business in a unique way so that we can partner with people like yourself, Edgardo, and like you, JC, where uh, we would buy it inside of one of our LLCs, and you basically would pay us an interest rate or rent. We prefer to set it up so that it's long-term rent and allow you guys to close on things quickly, take all of the upside. We take some fees and rent along the way, right?
Right.
And for people who have $50,000 or $100,000 in the bank and they want to earn that interest rate of 8 or 10 or 11%, it's an extremely safe way to get involved in real estate investing and have instant cash flow, right? Like, so Joy said, having your money in the bank at 0.001%, and it's not even probably that good most of the time. We know that inflation is 6.5 or 7% is what they're telling us. It's probably worse than that. So if you can get your money into real estate and earn 10% or 11%, now you're beating inflation and your money's actually making you money.
Yep.
and you can do it in a very safe way through a partnership with us. And obviously we're going out and finding, like, Joy brings us a deal, and he's going to buy a house for $100,000 that he's going to put then $60,000 in, and it's going to be worth 300,000. And we actually come in and provide the money to buy it. Joy puts in the money to renovate it, and he turns it from $100,000 purchase into something that's worth $300,000, and we make a return on our 100,000. Or in this case, if someone's partnering with us, they come in and they're making the 10 or 11%, and we're making a small spread. And that's one of our preferred ways to do things, right? Like we'd like to get involved that way. We do some of that, right? Like, so we're not super into it where we've got millions of dollars on the street, but yeah, maybe we do have millions of dollars on the street now, but we didn't when we first started. We started like doing it one time. It's like anything else, maybe the first time we did it, we had $100,000, and over time, it's kind of grown. And once we get a piece of money that's out there working for us, what's really nice for us as investors is that it brings in cash flow right away. And we're generally in a very safe position. If something goes wrong, we then be in a position where we don't have to foreclose. We can sell the property. We take what's ours, and we would give to the operator what's left. Hopefully they get out without getting hurt. But that's a way that people can invest and get some exposure to real estate and start to learn real estate without. I mean, I think that is the champagne riding type of investment, right? Like, this is sit
First
back and
class,
relax.
you're not doing anything. You just sitting back and enjoying the ride. Yep.
Yeah, and we've set ourselves up to be able to do that. I'd like to do more of that next year. So that will be something that we're going to do more of.
Yeah. So, Rob, where do you want to take it? Because if it's for me, I keep talking. But
I know we've been going for a little while, but you want to go another 15 minutes? Because I don't think the conversation's gotten stale, and I think
I got
people would
more.
love it.
I got
What's
more
that?
bullets to fire.
You got questions real quick before we move on, and maybe you start asking some questions. If you said earlier you've got some, I do want to hit on that. Rio Rico is a great resource for anyone who's starting out in real estate, especially if you're living on the island. Joy mentioned it. They meet the last Thursday of the month, and right now they meet at base down on Juan Ponce de Leon the last Thursday of the month. And then every week we do what's called the Deal Makers Breakfast, which is every Saturday, 7:30 a.m. We were doing it at my house for about a year, and JC bought my house. So now we're kind of on the move. We hop from project to project, but that's pretty cool too, because we get to go see deals that are being done, and we sit around and talk about real estate. And we do deals with people who are in that group, right? Like, so that's how we get to know people is by just being there, being intentional about doing deals together. So I wanted to hit that up. Also, in January, we have a mastermind bus tour the Rio Rico does. And if you're interested in information about that, you could come to Puerto Rico, and I'll put you up in one of my Airbnbs, which would be great. Get on the bus tour and go around the island and see what's going on. It's a really great event. This is the 4th time that we're doing it. And you will get value out of coming to Puerto Rico if you're interested in investing in Puerto Rico and haven't seen it yet. So, or if you are a local who's living abroad and you want to come back and see what opportunities are here, this is a phenomenal way. We spend 3 days. Some of it's in the classroom and some of it's on a bus, but you'll meet great people. You'll get to see really fun, cool real estate projects, and maybe make some relationships and do deals together. And that's what it's all about. So if you're interested in that, ask for a link and send me an email or something, and I'll get you that information. So yeah, did we lose Juan Carlos?
Yeah, I think we lost Juan Carlos. So I have a question for you, Rob.
Yeah.
Oh wait. Oh yes, he's there.
There's
Oh yeah,
Ernesto.
that's that's the rendering of the, what it's gonna look like. There's no change to it. They just literally just paint it and put windows on it, and
I was going to
that's
say that's the building. It just looks like they painted it white.
yeah. I mean, that's a rendering of it. But Adam, can you Google Map it? So you see, that's the building. You see how big that thing is? All that's in front of it is parking space, right?
Yep.
So yeah, it's huge, huge. I don't think there is a I don't think there's a what you're trying to do there, Adam. But if you can go here to this link that I'm going to post here, you could probably show it to show the people. There's the numbers are there as well. So Rob, I have a question for you, and let's wait for Adam to pull that up. But when you're when when you're looking at deals and a lot of them look good, do you just go after them all? And here's why I ask is because I look at deals all the time and I'm like, that's a great deal. Like, but I'm like, well, I'm still in the middle of this deal. So let me just finish this deal and then I'll get another one. But
Yeah.
with you, I've noticed you're like, you just keep going. Whether the deals are finished or not, you just keep going. So I just wonder like what's your thought process on it? Because right now I'm looking at a lot of deals and I'm like, this is a great deal. I could easily go after it, but I don't know if I don't have the bandwidth to necessarily like bring this all down myself. And so I just wondering how do you think about that?
Yeah. So I think about it the same way that you do. And we have been a high capacity real estate investment company for 25 years. So for 20 years, I averaged over 100 properties bought a year. So I would do that. That was our routine. And so when we came to Puerto Rico, we were doing way less deals than that, but they were bigger renovations or they were bigger projects. And so we've done a lot, but in 5 years, we've done it's a little over 100 deals where we've bought a little over 100 properties. I don't know if it's 102 or 110, but some of those things we've sold, lots of those things we've kept. So as we get kind of extended, if we aren't able to expand through partnerships by bringing in more people to help us to be able to do more, then we have to slow down. And so 2022 was a good example of that. My team and I made an effort to not buy as many properties. And so what that meant was that I wasn't going out every day looking for the next deal because, like you said, if you do, you're always going to find in Puerto Rico what we call the deal of a lifetime. And it's really, really hard for me to pass on things that I think are the deal of a lifetime. So I've sometimes bought things at a rate at which I might have overextended myself. And so 2022 was about finishing some projects and putting ourselves in a position that we're not so overextended. And I think it's an excellent point, right? Like, should I have passed on a couple of things? Probably. Am I ever able to not buy something if it's like just so good? I mean, really, literally, there have been dozens of times in my life where I've decided I'm not going to buy something, and then I'll leave the house and I'll come back home and I'll say, honey, I had to buy this. Or I'll call Dave McCallie, my business partner, and I'll say, Dave, listen, I know we weren't trying to buy anything this week, but we just bought a hotel. You're like, oh my gosh, what are you doing?
Oh,
And then I'll tell him the deal and he'll say, yeah, all right, well, we had to buy that hotel. So we bought that one. And so
and
I
you
think
guys just figure it out. You figure it out. That's what I
it's
love
about the
it.
capacity that you have, right? Like, so you don't want to do so much that you can't do what you are supposed to do. And you don't want to overextend, but I also like to have a pipeline.
Yeah.
So, and for us, I mean, finding different ways that we can continue to be high volume and still not be overextended, that's what 2022 and 2023 is about. Like, right? So finding guys like yourself where we can come in and be money, resources, and I can help with deal structure. I can, you can call me up and ask me anything, and I can call on my experience and put in value that way,
Yep.
rather than
Game
me
changer.
and my team having to go out and renovate it, find the money, find the deal, all of that stuff that goes along with being an operator. I'll probably always be an operator, but I'd very much like to get into the back seat and drink some champagne and let you run with the
Let's
ball for a while,
let's do a deal in January.
Yeah, okay. All right.
I
So
have a
that's
deal in
that's
mind.
that's I hope that answered your question, but that's how I look at things.
Yeah.
We're always, even when I say I'm not buying anything, I still buy at a higher volume than most people do. But for me, I'm definitely buying less, right? Like, so I think we only bought 10 or 12 houses or 10 or 12 properties last year in 2022. And that's a pretty low volume for us.
So
So
is 2023 gonna continue that as you start projects and finish projects, or do you want to ramp up in 2023?
Depending on how things go, we're going to continue that. We want to finish more projects, and we've got. So it seems like in Puerto Rico, everything is just built on itself every year, and so we're doing more and more and more. And next year is no different. We have 5 renovation projects that are millions and millions of dollars, and need our attention. We have responsibilities to investors and things like that. So those things have to take precedence over buying the next house, like the $9,000 duplex. I can't be looking at that and doing that and taking time away from. But Adon could, and I'd be happy to be the money for him, or you get it. So I think the answer is yes and no, and to answer it even further, if the market has any kind of severe correction, then we'll probably buy more, right? Like, so I expect that there is going to be some opportunities in the States next year that I haven't seen for 4 or 5 years. And so I'm buying some things with my son who can
Yep.
take it and run with it. I've got another young man who we partner with in Florida that in the last couple of years, we've bought 15 or 20 things a year. So we'll probably continue to do that in Florida and see these better deals. And if they really good, then I'll have to adjust everything, and we'll be buying a lot, right? Like if housing in Orlando, Florida goes back to where it was in 2009 and 10, unfortunately, I'm gonna have to buy 1,000 houses, right?
Unfortunately,
figure it all out. But I know how that movie ends. So
hey man, if you think that happens in Florida, what do you think is going to happen here, man? It's just going to be a ripple effect here as well. So imagine if it's going to be sweet there, it's going to be amazing here.
Yeah, I think we're 18 months behind. So if it happens here in May in Florida, I'm in Florida. So if in May we start seeing magnificent deals, then I think a year and a half later in Puerto Rico we'll start to see big corrections. And I'm not the guy who buys $40 million houses in Dorado, right? Like, so if that house goes from being $40 million and now you can get it for 25 million, I'm still not that guy. I'm not going to buy that house. So that could be the best deal that anyone's ever got. But I much prefer to buy a working class home and something that I can put $100,000 or $200,000 in and have it return. In the good times in Florida, it was not that difficult. And when we first came to Puerto Rico, it was not that difficult to find multifamily properties or single family houses in Florida where we could make 25 or even better, 25% or even more. We could buy a multifamily in Puerto Rico and expect to make a 40% return a year. It's hard to pass those things up. So
Yeah.
And that's what you're teaching people. That's what excites me. I just love that kind of product.
There's a lot of opportunity here, and I've personally have taken a step back into pursuing deals because I had this limiting belief of, well, I have to do it myself, right? And now that I have started to learn, wait, I don't have to do it myself. I don't have to figure this thing out completely by myself. I could, partner with Rob or with Juan Carlos or with someone else and they bring massive amounts of value into it, and that's changed my mindset. And yeah, and it's definitely going to change my 2023. Like right now for this year is like my goal is to buy a deal a month, and
Okay.
not do it by myself. Like I'm going to be doing it with you, with whoever, right? Like someone else. I'm not going to do it by myself anymore.
Yeah.
And before that I was scared because I'm like, wait, I don't have the bandwidth to buy a deal a month. But I don't need to have the bandwidth if I have different partners and people who bring different things to the game. Like if I had to think like, well, do I have to, how can I raise capital for a deal a month? I'm not in that position yet. So that would be like, okay, then don't do a deal a month. But instead of thinking like that, it's like, wait, who can I partner with that would allow me to purchase a deal a month, right? If the deal
Yeah.
makes sense.
Yeah.
And that's what obviously one of the things that I'm looking forward with this year to partnering up with you and doing deals together for sure, and Juan Carlos as
What
well.
kind of deals do you want to look for this year in 2023?
Uh,
What are some other goals that you have for 2023?
yeah, I want to do larger deals. Like I have a deal right now under contract. It's a 30 unit. That's not common, right? I actually have two deals that are 30 units right now. One is under contract, or one I'm negotiating. But one of those deals, I literally said, hey, man, I'm just not ready for it. Because in my mind, I was like, wait, I have to raise the capital for this. And I have to put a down payment. And I'm like, I don't want to keep using my money because then I'm always at zero. And that puts a financial like stress on me and Paula and my personal life. So I'm like, I'd rather not do a deal than have to put all the money myself and then be at zero and it'll be like hustling for money and that sort of thing. So that was like the wrong belief. Now it's like, wait, who do I need to partner with to make this deal happen? I'm bringing in a lot of the value here. Who has the capital? Who has this? Who has the resources? Who has the knowledge? And so for this month, for this year, I'm going to go after those type of properties. I want to do more 20, 30 units. They're hard to find,
Yeah.
but I have two of them right now, right? They're not that there's a
They're out there.
44 unit. Yeah, they're out there. There's a 44 unit that I really like, that I'm gonna go after as well. It's like a really big building, and I need a partner with with balls, right? I need a partner who understands the math, but also has like the love for it, and like and is willing to go after things still, right? A lot of I've noticed that some people as they keep developing their career, like they go down in that appetite. They're like, I just rather get a 4 or 6%, right? And just like, but I want to go for the big things right now because I have the energy,
Yeah.
I have my youth, I have the hunger, right? And so I'm looking for partners that can support that, and also to tell me, hey, you're going a little bit off the rails here. Maybe maybe slow it down a little bit. But that's for me. 2023 for me in terms of real estate is number one goal is to refinance the shopping center. I started that. I think once I do that, that's going to be a major milestone. It's going to be like over a $2 million refi. So that would be the first thing, like first time I've ever done that, and also would complete a loop with like a commercial big, like a big commercial property in
Yeah.
terms of the refinancing process. And so that's definitely number one in my list. And then finishing up some projects that I have going on right now. But in terms of purchasing, it's like, yeah, it's like this. Let me get a deal. Let me partner with Rob. Let me get a deal. Let me partner with this person. Let me get a deal.
Yeah.
Like, let me continue to do that. And so I'm building my business so that I can have a good amount of deal flow, and then building my relationship so that I can know where to take it to.
Yeah, I think that's brilliant. But I think what you said about always keeping yourself at zero, I did that for a long time. Actually, it was right up until I moved to Puerto Rico. If I got $10,000 or $20,000 in the bank, I had like a compulsion to reinvest it. Like it was sort of probably it wasn't sort of probably, it was an extreme way that I lived my life. Like we never felt like we had any money because I always spent everything that we had on the next investment. And so one of the things that has happened in Puerto Rico is I have allowed myself to relax a little bit on that front because I've got a really good partner. My partner Dave McCallie kind of taught me that, hey, you don't have to, you know, take every dollar you've got and have it reinvested in 48 hours. But for 20 years, that's the way I lived, and so we just always had this feeling of we didn't have a lot, right? Like we were on paper, we had a really nice net worth, but I never had any money in the bank. And so Puerto Rico, I've started to shift that. So I really like the way that feels, and I'm still able to do a lot, right? Like so, I like your attitude about it, and I think you are going to do amazing things. So I'd be happy to be in business with you. You want to go through this Breces del Rio proposal real quick?
Yeah, let's do it. So, Adan, do you want to go all the way down to show the pictures real quick? If you keep going down, keep going. There you go. You can click on that. That's when he bought it. It was like that. If you get out of that picture and go to the next one, um, this was so he's cleaning it up right now, right? And this is just one side of the property, right? The property has, I believe, 4 and 4 units here, like 4 on the second floor, 4 on the bottom, and then on the other side, it has the same. It literally, you could see here, right? You could see to the left. You see how it's sort of like a mirror image. So on the other side, it's the same. It's 4 and 4. So 4 on the second floor, 4 on the first floor. And these are all 2 unit and 3 bed, two bedrooms and 3 bedrooms. Um, and so yeah, this was a great deal. If you could keep showing the pictures, um,
There's another
click on
building
that one.
there too that has another couple units. So you have at least
Yep. Yeah.
16
So
units. That building there could be, well,
that's gonna
anything,
be two. That's gonna be
unit or
two
two,
two
or it could be a
bedrooms.
laundry room or whatever.
Yeah. So he's gonna do two bedrooms there, um, and then just asphalt the whole thing. Call it a day.
That's going to be amazing property. Yeah, I can't believe that's somebody's first property and their first project. Are you going to do the renovation on this with him, or is he doing it
Um,
completely
we're
on his
still
own?
trying to. We're still working that out.
Yeah,
The thing with we were initially gonna do it, but he wants to go through the process. Like he's literally selling his business, his print shop business, to do this full time. So and he wants to continue to do this. So there is value in me stepping back and having him do that and learning the ropes. Um, and going through the entire rehab, but he's going to focus 100% of the time to it. So right now we're still in the conversations, but he's already started. Like these pictures are old. He's already started to doing the rehab, and I believe he's going to continue to do most of it. Yeah. If
amazing.
I told him if at any time you need help with it, because of whatever reason, I can definitely step in and help out. But the whole idea of the coaching business is to create really good operators, and you have to go through a good rehab to become a good operator, right? In terms of getting the knowledge of it, so it's definitely on his best interest to do so.
Yeah, and again, like I said, this is his first deal, so there is every expectation that this guy is going to have 10 of these buildings in the next 4 or 5 years.
Yeah.
And what great value you're bringing to your students. Anybody who is thinking about getting coaching on the island should look up Eduardo Joy. And
Yep.
I mean, you're an excellent teacher, by the way, Joy. I've listened to you. Well, just in conversations that we've had, I can tell you're an excellent teacher.
And if you look at the only reason why someone would go after a deal like this for the first time is because they have an emotional support, and they have someone there to assist them throughout the process, right? Who can anticipate what are going to be your downfalls. So like, hey, you make sure the electricity do it like this. Make sure you get this insurance. Make sure, when you're ready to rent out, make sure you talk to my lawyer to get these contracts. Make sure you're at this price point when you're all in, so that when you refi and the broker includes the broker's fee on the refi, you're still within amount of where you're positive you can still have proceeds. Like, so having a coach and having someone there that's the only reason why he can go from zero, not knowing anything, to understanding the business and the math behind it, and having the guts to go after a property like this, which is a really big property for someone to start with. And the same thing applies to me. Like, the reason why I can now go after a 30 unit is because I'm like, hey, I know Rob, and I know if I partner with Rob, he's going to be able to coach me through this 30 unit, because I've never done a 30 unit before, right? Or if I go to like the 44 unit building that I like, it's like, hey, I can partner with someone who knows and can guide me and teach me. And so that's really the only reason. If not, he would have started with a 2 unit easily.
Yeah, it's really easy to talk yourself out of this deal if it's your first one, right? Like, you look at that and go, oh my gosh, what could go wrong? So him having the coaching that you provided gave him the courage to do something that's amazing. I like to think of myself as someone who would have tackled something like that, but I don't know that on my first one I would have, right? Like that's really bold.
Just
I
on
love
the price,
big, bold
like,
dreams. I really get excited by that. So I'm really happy for this guy.
Think about, like, if he has to invest, the rehab is 300 something.
Yeah.
Like, someone who's coming in for the first time, they're like, where would the freak would I get 300K to rehab? Like, they wouldn't even understand that there's you could do private money, you can get a hard money loan for it. Like, there's a way to structure it. Hey, there's an exit strategy, right? Hey, you're going to get your money back within this amount of time. Like, there's a lot of things and nuances that go into, so that you can, I always say, like, there's power in clarity, and you only get clarity through information. So when you're confused, you're afraid.
Yeah.
But that's only because you're confused. But through information, you can gain clarity, and through clarity, you're no longer confused or afraid, because you understand there's a plan behind it. And so, like, yeah, there's no way no one would, even myself, like, I would have seen this, I'd be like, whoa, this is way too much. Even my first deal, it was a big rehab. Like, it was I put 195K into it. It was a 7 unit that I was going to turn into a 9 unit. And it was bad. It was in bad shape. So yeah, that's the value of it. And I'll kind of leave you guys with this is, don't do things alone. Obviously YouTube offers a lot of free knowledge, but you want to find a Robbie that can help you out with the details, right? That could literally be that missing piece of your puzzle. Whereas, like, YouTube is not enough. You cannot ask a question through YouTube, but you can definitely call Robbie up, or me, or Juan Carlos, and get a direct feedback on it. So if you want to figure out how to accelerate your growth here in investing in real estate, especially in Puerto Rico, is you have to partner. And that's something that we're not necessarily used to, because we come from a different, perspective or background, but that's how the game is played. And the game is played like that in the States. And it's, a lot of operators, a lot of syndicators, a lot of investors, they all partner up to buy big properties over there. And that's what we need to start playing here in Puerto Rico. And I'm looking forward to start doing it with you, Rob.
Well, I appreciate that, Joy. And I mean, I'll echo it a little bit. Real estate is a team sport, especially in Puerto Rico, right? Like, it really and truly is a fun place to partner with people, and there's just a ton of talent on the island. So, hey, and anybody who's watching this that hasn't subscribed to our channel, we would love for you to become part of our channel and hit the subscribe button. We try to put out a couple of videos a week, and we're going to be doing these live events every week, hopefully, going in through all of 2023. And so hopefully anyone who watched this got some really good value out of it. And Eduardo Joy, I can't wait to see what happens next year. We're going to do some great things together, and I'm excited about it. So thanks for coming on, man, and hanging out with us. We went for almost 2 hours, which is awesome. And I think hopefully people get some really good benefit from your perspective and mine. And JC, thanks for coming in as well. So,
Yep. And I think to finish it off with this is like it's possible. Like it's possible. It's not rocket science. It's just like any other business. You just got to learn the math around it and then go ahead and do it, right? But it's possible, and we are creating that community. So if you want to do it, just come to one of our events, man. We're doing it monthly. Rob's doing it weekly. Just show up, and we'll take it from there.
yeah.
Thank you, Rob, for
Well,
having
come to
me.
both
It's a
events.
pleasure always.
Go to Joy's event. Come to a breakfast. Go to the RIA. You can never know enough good people, and I think there's good people at both in both groups. So the more we can interact with each other, the better. So, all right, guys. Thank you guys for staying with us. Thank you, everything, Eduardo Joy, and God bless you guys. And yeah, we'll see you next time.
Guys, before you go, we got one question on Instagram here real quick. We all short-term rentals are eye candy in PR, but how about long-term? Why isn't it popular? And what are incentives as to taxes, government assistance for long-term rentals?
Well, what was the first question, Adan?
Why aren't short-term rentals more popular on the island?
Why aren't
What?
short-term rentals more popular?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I think short-term rentals are pretty damn popular on the
Man,
island.
I think short-term rentals are popping everywhere, man.
Long-term rentals. Why aren't long-term rentals more popular on the island?
Yeah.
Oh, it's because people don't know how to make money with them. Like a short-term rental is really like anyone can figure out how to make money with short-term rental, or they think they can figure out how to make money, which is you just put it on Airbnb, people come. That's it, right? Like if you're looking for a non, like what do non-professionals like, or like what people who have real Airbnbs or short-term rentals that are not professional do? They just take a few pictures with their phone, post it up. They're like, hey, just let me open up the calendar and get people. So it's really the resistance, the path to entry is really fast and easy. You have a place, you have a room, or might as well just put it on Airbnb, get people here. Long-term rental, there's a different process to it. And so people don't know how to do it. It's not whether one's easier or harder than the other. It's just a matter um, of people knowing how to do it. That's my opinion. And that's why we're here. We're here to teach people like, yeah, you can invest in the long term. It's not really that hard. You just got to learn a few things. That's all. You know, the same way when you go to school. I went to school for engineering. Like I didn't know any of that crap. I learned it in school and then I kind of figured it out. So if you want to cook, you don't know how to cook, you go to take classes as a chef and then you figure that out. And then all of a sudden you start practicing and you become a good cook. The same thing with real estate, right? Like you have to go get the knowledge, go get the information. That's
And
my opinion.
do you know of any incentives that the government of Puerto Rico has right now for long-term rentals or anything like that? Or any government?
Yeah, I mean, there's two. There's the opportunity zones, which is the major one. But that's, let's say you're starting out, right? That you're not going to be talking about that once you're starting out. But let's say you're starting out. Hey, Section 8, that's the most popular one. Okay, if you know how to set up your place, and you know how to put it up to standard, you can get a guaranteed deposit every month by the federal government paying the rent for someone living in your space. And if you did a really good job at qualifying that tenant and you have a high quality tenant, which by the way, they're high quality tenants in all social classes. They're high quality tenants renting $20,000 houses, and they're high quality tenants renting $500 units, you know, one bedroom units or whatever. So it's your job to
And there's
find
bad
the good
tenants
one.
in both of those places as well, right? Like you can get the bad with the good. Adon, I think it's my preferred way to invest. I like investing in long-term rental. It's closer to passive income, in my opinion, once you are done. Once you get Section 8 tenants, or once you get long-term tenants in there and they stay with you for years and years, that gets very close to a passive income. Whereas with the Airbnb stuff, which we do invest in, that never becomes passive unless you're just hiring it out to someone like JC Morales, and you pay for that though, right? Like, so Airbnb is sexy and everybody thinks that you're going to make more money with it. I like to buy the stuff based on the rents that we're going to get through the long-term rents, and then if a portion of it becomes short-term rents, that's great. But one other thing is that through 2025, long-term rents are a non-taxable event in the island of Puerto Rico. So this person who's investing in a 16-unit in Yesco can rent that out, and every dollar that he gets through the rents, he doesn't have to pay tax on that. It's a zero tax gain through 2025, and maybe it'll get extended because it was originally only through 2020 and it got extended. So that's really exciting, and that's available to everyone. All you have to do is invest in something that you're going to rent to someone long term, which is, I believe it's more than 90 days, but I don't know, Joy, maybe you know. But for us, we just do 1-year leases. Those long-term rents are non-taxable. That's our preferred way to get most of our income on the island of Puerto Rico, and that's why we've invested pretty heavily in that. We are now investing in the short-term stuff, but we came to the island to invest in long-term rents, and that's what we're going to continue to do. And I think that's where you're building wealth. I think that's where you're getting as close as you can to passive income. So I hope that answers their question. And whoever asked it, I didn't see the question, so I can't name them, but go out there and do it. It's a great business.
Paul Herrera.
Paul, let's do it, man. You can go and find this stuff, invest in the long-term stuff. It's an excellent way to grow wealth. And we've got a lot of content on the channel about it. Joy's got a lot of content out about on his channel. He focuses on long-term stuff. And so he focuses on it even more than we do.
Well, guys, thank you so much for your time. That was awesome. Great conversation between both of you. If you guys want to follow these guys, Eduardo Joy PR in Instagram and the Flip Flop Flipper on Instagram. Thank you again for your time, and I'll see you guys on the next one.
All right, guys.
Hey,
thanks very much.
You,
God bless.
thank you, Robbie. It's a pleasure. Thank you, everyone who's tuned in. 2 hours, man. That's how you know they're that's how you know they're really interested. It's Christmas time, about to, everyone's with their family. Today was a free day here, and they're sitting here watching people talk about real estate. So that's how you know they like it.
That's awesome.
Thank you so much,
guys.
Robbie. Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas. Happy New Year, man.
Thank you.